Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Deal, where we discuss business, entrepreneurship, and commercial real estate. My name is Lacey Labs, and I'm here with my co-host, Laura Martin. In today's episode, we interview Elon Gerberg, co-director of the ROI Group, a division of SVN Commercial Partners in Southern Florida. Elon and his team specialize in retail, industrial, and office real estate throughout Southern Florida, including Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Tune into this episode to hear more about Elon's journey, the commercial real estate experience that he shares, and what advice he would give to younger agents looking to grow their business. Elon Gerberg, welcome to Beyond the Deal. It's great to have you with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for being our guest.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So let's go ahead and start with you just telling us a little bit about your background and kind of how you got your start in commercial real estate.
Sure. So I am a born and raised Ohioan. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, and my mom and dad were both very much entrepreneurial. My dad owned his own jewelry store. He's an Israeli guy, so you basically you're in jewelry or you're in clothing. So he picked jewelry. And I used to go to the office with him all the time and really admired, the hustle and the grind. And he always taught me as a young guy, you're going to learn a lot more from trial and error and hustling than you're gonna learn in school. And school's obviously very important, but just seeing his entrepreneurial spirit and being able to grow up with him was very huge growing up for me. I went to Bowling Green State University. I was an A type personality, like a C+ student. So Bowling Green State University is where I got my degree, and I met my beautiful wife. And then when I was a senior in high school, my mother, my parents weren't together anymore, moved to Fort Lauderdale. So naturally, me and all my friends would jump in the car, and every winter break we were going down to free stay at mom's house to be able to enjoy ourselves. And finally, my last trip after I graduated college was me, my two best friends, my dog, my girlfriend, and a ton of my stuff. And it was December of 2008, and it was so beautiful out. And I was thinking, I don't feel like taking the road trip back to the snow and scraping ice off my windshield. And so I said, I'm just going to stick around, and you guys go back. And the rest is history. I stayed with my girlfriend. My friend said, if we leave you here with her, that's it for you. And, a few years later, I ended up marrying her, and here we are. So now I live in Boca. And after first moving here, my first job actually was an interview at Marcus & Millichap. And they told me, you're not going to be making any money for your first year. I didn't have any debt, thankfully, but I was living with my girlfriend and my mom at the time. And I would come home and there'd be some common area that they didn't like about me. And then I'd come home and they'd say, we don't really like that you're doing this anymore. And I'd say, I don't think we can live like this under these pretenses where I come home and I'm getting ganged up on. So I ended up taking a job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Moved up the ranks there from a management trainee all the way up to managing the Fort Lauderdale airport. And from there, I ended up getting a few other jobs. I worked at ADP selling payroll. And, I was making some good money. I made, $110,000, $120,000, $130,000. But my main thing was I kept looking around thinking, who's the best in the room? And do I want to be that person? And something kept telling me, my dad's, entrepreneurial spirit, that I had to start something on my own eventually. And then one day my wife woke me up and told me that she was pregnant. And I said, it's now or never. And I'm going to go back to Marcus & Millichap and say, that whole offer about not making money and learning a lot, I'm going to take that. I'm ready to do it. So that's how I got involved in commercial real estate. It was strictly a now or never. I knew I was going to have to make some sacrifices. I had a little bit of money in the bank, and I felt if I hadn't done it then, it would have been a lot more tough once you have kids and you have responsibilities. And so just jumped both feet in right into the fire.
So that was 8 years ago or 9 years ago?
That was in 2016. So how many years ago? I guess
like 8 years ago.
8 or 9 years ago. Yeah.
So you started with Marcus Millichap. So I'm interested now, your career to today.
Sure. Yeah. So when I started, I wanted to, my whole thing that I learned from was surround yourself with the best, right? As long as you're around the best. I was at the mentality at that point. It's like, I don't care if I got to carry your laundry, get you coffee, just teach me along the way. And I can, I can take my lumps and I'll learn. So at Marcus, when you join, the way, at least in the Fort Lauderdale office is they have you go around the perimeter of all the offices and basically figure out what product type that you're going to feel most comfortable with, but also, what team that you'll join. And luckily at the time I joined, it was like, conversely, when I first came in 2008, a crash was just happening, and no teams were really going to be expanding. So maybe timing worked out well, but ultimately I decided to join a retail office and industrial team because I felt like retail really gravitated toward me because I didn't have to relearn. I had just moved from Ohio, and now I at least knew the major roads where I shop and where I do things, and I felt between that and knocking on doors and cold calling from when I was selling payroll, those streets were more familiar for me. And so ultimately I joined a team that specialized in retail office and industrial sales. They were probably the top team in that arena, but they really didn't have somebody leading the retail division. It was the guy who was running it, Doug Mandel. He was more of a office and industrial guy. So I really came in and I led the charge for the retail, call it $2 to $20 million private party sales space in the Tri-County area, or mostly Broward County and Palm Beach County. And a few years you're learning, you're building relationships, but joining a team I think is extremely important, right? Because you don't really have anything to sell. You haven't sold anything. So this really allowed me to leverage, my partner's track record at the time and start learning from somebody, understanding the ropes and forging relationships. And then ultimately, you get to a point where you feel like, okay, I've forged my relationships. I can go on these meetings. I can do everything from soup to nuts, essentially. How do I lead my own path here? And I felt like there was sort of that glass ceiling where you couldn't really get past that. It was always going to be team leader and then Elon, right? And I really wanted to grow into my own person, or at least an equal, and I just didn't see that path. So ultimately, my partner, Adam Klein, who I lead a team with now, was on my team, and I could tell that he was sort of feeling the same thing. He was doing mostly industrial and some office and in Miami-Dade. So to me, it seemed like a logical move. I just sort of whispered to him, I'm like, hey, man, let's grab lunch and let's talk about how we can take over the world together. And so, between him doing office and industrial and me doing retail and him doing mostly Miami and me doing Broward and Palm Beach, it sort of gave us the whole net on the South Florida Tri-County area and those three product types. And so him and I started at SVN a little over 3 years ago.
Okay.
So when you came into SVN, you guys started as the ROI Group right away. That was kind of how you came in.
Yeah, we sat down. I give some credit to Adam and Ashley Bloom as well. We were like, should it be the Rio Group? And Adam's like, what are we talking about here? This is like the perfect pun. ROI, retail, office, and industrial. So, so him and I started our team then. And, it was really awesome. At first, you have a lot of jitters. Going out on your own, you forged relationships, but you always wonder, can you do this on your own as well as you did when you had, a big name behind you before? And you start to realize this is a relationship business, right? And I think Adam and myself, we both have great personalities. We work hard, and we've created a brand for ourselves of just that. So, to us, it was really like, okay, we're going to go somewhere. No matter where we go, I feel like we're going to be pretty good. Obviously the jury is going to be out. But one reason we really enjoyed SVN is, number one, they were just really opening up in Boca Raton and didn't have a commercial team. It was mostly multifamily at that time. And also, SVN basically came from a couple of Marcus guys. And I think one thing that was sort of foreign to us at the time was this whole cooperation thing, where our whole thing was, LoopNet, CoStar, that's a last ditch effort if we can't find the buyers ourselves. And when we started in, they were like, no, we 50% on every website known to man right away. And it did take an adjustment, but at the time when we started, which was in 2021, it was such a shift. Florida went from as I was selling a lot of retail, and I went in for a whole year, from 2020 till 2021, February till March, 13 months, I didn't cash a check. Nobody was paying rent. Nobody was financing deals. Nobody wanted to buy retail. These stores weren't even open. And so it was definitely, some growing pains as you're going in, but I think it ended up being the perfect time because it allowed us to come in and also take advantage of the shift that we were seeing in the market, which was in the 6 years I had been doing it. It was all about farming my area and making relationships with those people, but those people weren't buying properties. They were coming from everywhere else. They were coming from New York, California, Chicago. So once we really embraced the whole, 50% of our fee 100% of the time, I think it played right into what we were seeing anyways, which was all the flight capital coming into South Florida. And how do you access it? I don't know them, right? They don't own properties down here yet. So how do I access them? And that was really the differentiator for us was, man, maybe there is something to this 50% fee, putting it everywhere, collaborating not just with all the SVN offices under our umbrella, but also with all the brokers, throughout the entire community, throughout the country and beyond.
Yeah, so that resonated with me too. When I was looking at doing the franchise 6 years ago, I went out to a conference on the West Coast, and I've always done that, but if they actually put a name on it, that, they're not your enemy. There's enough business for everybody, and you're always collaborative, which I always was. So that I agree. That was something I really liked about the franchise.
It's so uncommon in the commercial world, which is just really crazy to say. Most of these big flags, at the end of the day, they do have a fiduciary, and who is their fiduciary for? I mean, these are all publicly traded companies, and they have shareholders, and so we get it. And we were just, I don't even know if we grasped why, but keep those fees and collaborate as much as you can under the umbrella that we have. But when it comes to collaborating with outside brokers, that's really a last ditch effort. That's a no-no almost, without saying it, right? And we still see it all the time now. We just did a deal where we sold a property, and we have a buyer who's in a 1031 exchange, and there's a lot of opportunities out there. But at the end of the day, every broker is in this not because they're doing volunteer work. They're trying to keep the lights on and feed their family. And so, if you're not offering a healthy fee, you're definitely gonna miss out on a lot of people who are going to show deals to their clients because, if all's the same term, and I can get more of a fee, well, which one? Not just me in particular, but just brokers. Which one are they going to show their deals to? So it's really crazy how much you see it though, and I'm sure you all are seeing it in PA and beyond, right? It's just the way of the land.
It's gotten more interesting with the whole NAR settlement that really affects residential realtors, the whole collusion. But I'm finding that now I have to be very upfront, very intentional, and very specific. Like, are you paying? And we were looking at bringing a buyer to a $10 million deal. We knew about the properties. We'd been there before, but they weren't paying any fee. So the guy who actually had the client that he was going to bring, I was going to help him. And he's like, I'm not bringing them if there's no fee. I'm like, I get it. If your client doesn't want to pay you, what do you do? So
yeah, I love when they say, oh yeah, no problem. We'd love to do a deal with you on this one. Just your buyer's going to have to pay the fee.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's a conversation I don't think that is he's going to want to have. So it's very unusual. Whereas you look at residential, it's almost like, you cooperate with 50% of the fee. That's just the way that it is. And very, very different in commercial for sure. But I think it's a major differentiator for us, as SVNers to say, we do play nice in the sandbox, and we highlight the 9.6 report in every single pitch that we do. I mean, it's a true differentiator. I mean, you got to understand you're saving maybe a little bit of money as a seller, but at the long run, it's as much a strategy, in our opinion, as it is, as prices.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. And
they're not paying it if you don't produce. So, the old money back guarantee.
That's it. We never get paid for trying. That's the motto.
That's very true. So Elon, as you kind of took this path into commercial real estate and then took this leadership of the team and started with SVN, what has kind of drawn you into the work and given you passion for it? What do you enjoy about it? And then what are some of the challenges that you face as an agent in the day-to-day?
Sure. I love being around people. I love wearing a suit. I love, I love the, talking with successful people. At the end of the day, most of the people that own commercial real estate, these are, it was like an adjustment when you first start. Like, I can't tell you on how many meetings, and then you go on this meeting and you're like, you're you? Like, you like put this figure on that they're like, and they come out with like a t-shirt with stains on it. Like, what's up, man? Sit down, But all the people who own commercial real estate, they're smart people who have, a lot of them have their own stories. My dad is somebody who came here with not a nickel in his pocket and built something of himself. So I love hearing people's stories. And especially when it comes to, listen, I think we all like making money, right? So it's not just making money, but the whole brokerage world is, how do you help your clients make money, right? How do you find them deals? How do you, once they found them, how do you walk them through how you can extract the most value and then do it over and over and over again? I love the hustle, right? I love digging up stuff and seeing what you find and the trials and tribulations of a broker. Obviously, the downs are so low, but when you reach those heights, when you reach the pinnacle, it feels so good, right? And I don't know if that opportunity is in that many, arenas. Commercial real estate, I feel like, is, a real arena where you can if you put the grit and the grind and the determination into it, and you make it your life, meaning you're living, you're sleeping, you're eating commercial real estate, and you become obsessed with it, it becomes more fun as you find more success, and then it becomes almost addictive. And then you can make money that I don't know you can make. I mean, you don't need a college degree for this job. You don't need, a doctorate and you see people who are making, let's say $500,000. I mean, medical sales maybe, and then they give away their Saturdays. And, I just feel like this is an unmatched, if anybody's looking to get into commercial real estate, and I can tell you I've bounced around in different opportunities. This is, as long as you have the grit and the drive, which is 99% of people don't have. This is a 99% failure business, maybe 95% failure business. But as long as you have the self-belief and determination, I don't care who you are, ugly, good looking, it doesn't matter. You can have, I've seen people who have Velcro shoes on and they drive, Corollas, and they're making $1 trillion because they have the grit and the grind. So that's what I love about this business. And you're always meeting people that you never know who were in it and who wasn't in it. So it's a really cool arena, like I said, where you can make unlimited income, but it's a hunting job where it's not for everybody, right? I mean, you really got to have the I don't care if this deal falls through or if it goes through. I'm going to be fine either way, but I'm going to do the right thing, follow the right process, do right by my clients. It takes a while to get to that level of I don't care. Not you care, but like total detachment. Because the moment you start thinking about paychecks is when your business doesn't go well anymore, because you're not thinking about your client anymore. You're not focused on the paycheck or the process. You're focused on the paycheck. And so it takes the right person to be able to do that. But that's who I am, right? I love the big feats, and I love even the losses make you that much more hungry for the next time. And I don't know if there's another job that has all that.
Yeah. I would say as long as you learn from the loss, you figured out the reason, the lesson. Yeah.
What's interesting, sorry to cut you off, but what's interesting is our job is sort of like repetition, right? We're not recreating the wheel. It's like, all right, you make X amount of calls to make so many meetings, to make so many proposals, and then eventually you do it so long, you've heard every objection, or you've seen every scenario. Not every scenario, obviously, we're always learning, but I just did a video on social media the other day about how your first offer can be your best offer, and how many times I've had where there's just somebody who's in a 1031 exchange that's in a pinch and they just need it now, and they're going to pay up, because if not, they're paying Uncle Sam, and it's between this and another property. You get that offer, and then your client is like, oh man, look, we're not even in the market yet. Look what already we're seeing, right? And as a broker who's seen it before, it's your job to say, I totally get it, but let's just scenario what this means and where it's happened to me in the before, and just something to consider before we just, because this offer may not be there when we go back to market and this guy's time has already expired. So just something to consider. That's just an example of, we see it's like rinse and repeat. And the more you do it, the more times you're like, oh, I've seen this before. And how did we handle it last time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what do you think? You guys have been pretty successful in your 3 years with SVN. What would you attribute to your success as a new team, and kind of what makes you stand out in your market?
Well, a lot of things, in my opinion. I don't want to, I'm a very confident guy. I feel like our team is just getting started, right? And this is the mentality I think that has led to a lot of our success. But we all are family men. All of us I think have, God in our hearts as well, first and foremost, and give all glory to the highest high. And we understand what our why is. I think once you have kids, at least for me, they're a huge driver for me, right? I've had, after that, that time where I told you where I didn't make any money, I had just put my kids in private school, and, you're building the life that you want them to live. And all of a sudden you're like, man, can I keep up with this? A few deals in commercial real estate die, and all of a sudden, it can get pretty nerve wracking. So I never want to be in that scenario. It keeps me driven to make sure that I'm never, ever, ever in that scenario again. Ultimately, you do your best and let the chips fall where they may. But I think that, being a family person, I know Adam is the same way. Cleveland has 6 kids, so he doesn't have a choice, right? You have that many kids. It's a lot of mouths to feed. You do not have a choice. And I very much, I coach my kids' basketball team. I'm very much involved in my kids' lives. And so, everything I do anymore is all about them, and how I can leave the best life for them. And that's why I'm very big on promotion of family. I can't tell you how much of a driver it is, and it forces you to mature. It forces you to be better. And, we're living in a time where I believe a lot of people are like, no, see the world, go do things. And I think the exact opposite. I think get married, have a lot of kids, raise them, and, enjoy being what it is of being a family man, which is strive for greatness, lead the path that you want your kids to lead, and lead because they're going to emulate, what you say. So, that's for me, but I think all of us here, I look for competitors, right? And so everybody on my team is a competitor, right? There's a lot of parallels to sports, and a lot of parallels to life in itself. And it's all about, I look for guys who come in, have a good stature about themselves or herself, and is going to be able to take a punch in the mouth, I guess, for lack of a better term, because this is one of those, careers that you can take a big punch to the gut And it's all about, can you stand back up and, move forward? And so I think everybody embodies that on our team. And the other thing is that we're very disciplined, right? If you don't want to make 250 phone calls every single week, my team is not the team that you want to be on, right? If you don't want to be in the office and let me hear your calls so I can, hear what you're doing and try to modify it. If you're not taking it on your own time, like my team, they're constantly role playing on their own, listening to our conversations. That's what I want to see, right? And that's what we have on our team. And I think it's been the major attribute for our success is all of us are very disciplined. And I think that's really one of the biggest things that can keep you from being successful in this business is there's so much coming at you, right? You got emails and you got proposals to do and you want to go on those meetings and life pops up and we have trainings and whatnot. So I think we do a good job on our team of blocking and tackling, making sure that your calendar is set up where it's saying, I'm putting my blinders on and during these tranches of time, I'm only making phone calls. I'm not going to look at my email because otherwise, it's happened to me where I'm organizing my email. I'm reading all my emails. I'm filing them away. I'm writing down things I have to do. And I look up and it's 1 o'clock already. And I'm like, well, I haven't made any phone calls. So, by virtue of me, Adam and I really, really emphasize that time blocking. And I think that, we have a couple of guys that have just started on our team that are already doing, pretty well for themselves. And I would attribute that to the fact that we stay very disciplined. This is not a difficult process. It's the doing it that's difficult, right? Make the 250 phone calls, meet 3 to 5 people every single week. One of those is probably going to turn into a proposal and keep moving the ball forward because this is a relationship business and just cultivate as many relationships as you can. Moment you get away from that is the moment business doesn't start going as well. And that's the only way I know. That's the way I've been taught. And that's the way our team does it.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
I think time blocking in particular, we've seen that in our office. You got to have times of focus to move things forward. When you're just taking whatever the fire is, your day can go
especially listen, I mean, if you get any success in this, in commercial real estate, your mailbox is going to be full all the time. And I'm a clean inboxer. I don't know how you all are, but I don't like too many things in my inbox. I like them filed away into files. I'm like a neat freak, and that's a problem if you're trying to be productive on the phones, right? So I got to have it out of sight. And it's like a 8 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 5 o'clock thing for me. And to date, since I've been doing that, I've never had any fires. And if there ever is one, Adam or somebody will be knocking on my door saying, "Did you see that email?" And we'll jump on it, right? But you got to really prioritize because you could stay busy all the time. But if you're not prioritizing the big things, the little things get in the way, and then the big things never happen. And that is going to be across the board for any broker that's doing this full time because it's just inevitable. We wear so many hats.
Yeah. Do you ever achieve zero inbox?
Zero inbox. I was close right before we started. I'm sure that we're going to be right back where we are. But we just, again, also when you start, you delegate. Like for example, we have a virtual assistant now, and now that's more emails, right? So we've delegated, and now more emails are coming. And one differentiator I think that I didn't allude to before is less than 1% of our Beth Azor said this stat, less than 1% of people that are in our line of business are on social media. And so Adam and I were thinking, what's going on with the National Association of Realtors? They're already slashing fees, and are they coming for brokers next? And we just got to find more ways to differentiate ourselves. I think for you ladies, this is a great way for you all to do that. But for us, it's how do we stay top of mind all the time? And everybody's got a phone in their pocket. Everybody is using their social media senselessly. And so our whole mantra is we want them seeing our face at least once a day when they open up their phones. And so that's another thing. That's another as soon as you feel like, all right, here's another new thing that you got to implement in your life. Guess what? AI is a thing now. So now how do you, there's just so many different ways we get pulled in, but if you're not implementing them, you'll be a dinosaur very quickly. So it's all about, how do we remain on the cutting edge, but stick to the fundamentals. If anything, that's our differentiator is making sure that we're doing the best of both.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. So kind of switching back to the more commercial real estate day-to-day stuff, what are some of the aspects of doing deals and just of your job that you wish more people, and specifically like potential clients, understood going into conversations with them?
I think that that's not a blanket answer for every owner, right? I think everybody has their own. Some people are like, hire a broker. It's the way to go. And other people are, we're in Florida, specifically South Florida. It's very rare that I call anybody that doesn't have somebody, giving them an unsolicited offer. And so I think what a lot of owners fail to understand is there's a reason they're, approaching you directly. This is a competitive landscape where there's a lot more people trying to sit down than there are chairs for them to sit in. And once it gets to somebody like me, they're going to have to pay up or they're not going to win the deal. And then a lot of people think to themselves, well, then I have to pay you a fee. And I would say, and I'm very data driven, I could show anybody that we more than pay for ourselves every single time, because not only do we embody the competition, but also, as we alluded to before, we really activate the entire brokerage community, right? So I feel like that's something that's very, very, to start off with, a lot of people don't know. They're thinking, here, I'll save a little bit of money, maybe do a deal off market or bring me a buyer. And we're sellers advocates. The way that we look at it is there are no shortage of buyers. We're in the hottest market in the country. But how do you make sure, number one, you're not leaving any money on the table? Number two, when you pick the horse, that they're going to cross the finish line when you pick them and you're not alienating any of the other buyers that you were speaking with. And, number three, what is the track record of this person that you're going under? I mean, there's a lot. The reason that you hire us isn't just to bring you buyers, it's to bring you in a lot of buyers in a very compressed time frame, get them to compete to drive up the price. Because if you don't have that fear of loss, they're never going to pay the money that you could have had for it. Without that fear of loss, it's just like, hey, here's my offer. What else you got? But it's like, your offer is not even close. Good luck to you. Or, sometimes you don't respond to them immediately, as when you only have one offer, they're getting all the attention. They can feel those things. And this is basically a game of chess in the fact that the more competition we have, the more honest you're going to keep those buyers. And not only that, but the biggest answer that we have to answer, the biggest question that we have to answer when we sell a property for our clients is, what am I going to do with the money? If we had the answer to that question, we would sell 1 trillion properties. Well, the answer is a lot of times different, but what a lot of sellers fail to understand is this is the leverage that you get through competition, right? So by hiring a broker that you weren't going to hire because you wanted to save a little bit of fee, it's not just getting the highest price. It's getting an assurance of closing and buying yourself the time that you need to be able to find that 1031 exchange. And if you don't have the leverage, right, it's not just price is most important. It's like, all right, 10 buyers that we have at the table. Here's what's important to the seller. An assurance of closing and high price, absolutely. But he also wants somebody that's going to afford him the opportunity to, let's say, extend closing up to 6 months to be able to fulfill his 1031 exchange and not have to rush into buying something just because he doesn't want to pay Uncle Sam. So I think that is what I think is the biggest misconception is saving fee or not offering a market fee also, right, is only going to de-incentivize the amount of buyers that come to your deal. So, if you're a seller out there, hire a good broker, preferably our team, but if not our team, a good broker who's going to quarterback the deal and get a number of buyers at the table to compete. and then somebody who's going to vet them out thoroughly. So when you do go to contract, you feel comfortable that you're going to get to the finish line and get you what's most important to you, whether it be a quick closing or it be the opportunity to, extend closing or whatever it is. All of that is done through a good broker that is going to vet the people out, because you don't really hire a broker to just sell a property. What you ultimately hire somebody for is to bring value, and that is through vetting buyers out and saying, how many brokers are calling the buyer's previous brokers that they dealt with on their last transaction to see how they performed. Did they retrade? These are the type of things that you hire somebody for, and hire a professional. Competition, exposure, making sure you're getting what you want and that you're picking the right horse. And I think that's probably the misconception, right? Is buyers think a lot of time, not all of them, but many are thinking, let me just save on fee, or, what's going to be your charge for fee? Well, fee we're going to cooperate with 50% of, and the more of a healthy fee we offer, the more brokers you're going to have in your deal. And, that's why I think 9.6 report is so important to point to, because I think a lot of people don't see that for the the trees for the forest versus, just the tree.
True.
That's great. That's a good pitch. I'm just going to clip that part and send it to all of our agents.
We're going to do the same. So
we'll use a little AI.
Oh, perfect. Thanks so much, Elon. We have 2 more questions to close out with our time together. Cool. So the first one is, with your experience in this industry, what advice do you give or would you give to new agents who are looking to get started, other than what you just said, which was also awesome? We would put that up there. But what else? What other advice would you give them?
First and foremost, I would say stay at home with mom as long as you possibly can, and try to limit your bills. Because that's a great position to be in. I had to come back because I didn't want to live at home with mom anymore. But in hindsight, I did learn a lot through all of my, my jobs that I've had. But, I think the earlier you can get in the business, the better, because this is a crock pot business, not a microwave business. This is a slow cook, and it takes a long time to forge relationships. And, you might be 2 years in and still feel like you've accomplished nothing and not even realize how much you've accomplished. So it takes time. And so I would say that would be my number one advice, is before you start having a lot of responsibility and before you start having a lot of bills, if you can manage making nothing or limited amounts for a little bit, understanding you're going to be making a lot more while you're seeing all your friends on Instagram, having all the parties and having all the good times while you're pulling call lists for the next day at 9 p.m. on a Saturday night. In the long run, that is the way that you're going to make it, because this is a long-term business, not a short-term business. We're not even really salespeople. We're really advisors, because you don't convince anybody. Find me a broker that's convinced somebody to sell, and I would love them on my team, because it's really, you're just waiting for that problem and lifestyle change or a partnership dissolution, and you have to have been that guy, the resource, that gal, that entire time, so they'll pick you. Because I always tell my team, if you're just getting in and meeting with them when they've already made their decision to sell, the likelihood of you getting that business is probably nothing. So that's first and foremost. And then the second thing I would say is the 3 T's. My partner Adam coined it, but I use it. He doesn't. So I'm taking it. The 3 T's are what any person should be looking for when they're looking to get involved in commercial real estate, which is joining a team. That's not one of the T's. I guess it should be 4 T's, but it's time. Somebody who is going to give you their time, right? Go on meetings with you, bring home that business. The second one is training, which is somebody who is going to give you the tools and what to say and how to perform in meetings. And the last one is track record, which is join a team that's got some track record in the market that you can leverage. So the we is, we've sold this, we sold that next door, we're selling the property across the street. If you can get So my recommendation is join a team, because it's very, very difficult on your own. But the team that you join, you would want to make sure hits those 3 boxes, providing you the track record, giving you the training, and most importantly, giving you the time to go on those first meetings so you can emulate them, see how they carry themselves and whatnot. If you can do those 3 things, if you can find somebody, your likelihood of making it in this business, I'd say, would be a lot higher of a success rate. So get in the business early, join a team so you can learn and get their track record. And that's how you'll be able to spread your wings on your own. But I think most importantly, and this is how we run our team, is find a team leader that's going to allow you to spread your wings and grow out to ultimately be on your own. Because the way that I look at it on my team is it's a huge pie. And if everybody eats, I'm eating more, right? So what I'm looking for is somebody who's going to grow in. You come in as a rookie, but you grow into what is ultimately an equal partner. So then you can get people under you and we all get bigger and we become the biggest, mid-market commercial real estate sales group in the state, which is ultimately my goal. I know you asked Augie what's his goals in the next 5 years. And I was thinking, well, that would be mine for sure. I want to be the category killer in the mid-market retail office and industrial space in the state of Florida. And with my partner, Adam, and with the team that we have and the people that we're bringing on, and the tools that we have in place, I don't see any reason why we can't make that happen.
Awesome. It sounds like you guys are on a great path to that goal, Elon.
It's write it down, write them down and constantly become maniacal about it. That's what I do. And then find a wife that likes spending money, and then you'll have no choice.
Good motivator.
That's funny. I remember meeting you in Miami. SVN had a happy hour, and your name was easy to remember, but I do remember you being memorable. So we had a nice visit. My daughter was there, and it was a good time. So
yeah, it's funny now. Nobody used to be able to pronounce my name. Now either people say it with a smile or they hate me. So it's amazing how that's happened. Thank you, Mr. Musk.
Yeah. All right, Elon, we have a closing question. We ask everybody the same question, and we would love to have the chance to hear your answer. So if you could go back and start your career over again, but keep all of the knowledge and experience that you've had from your years in business, what is something you would do differently?
Well, I would definitely have started sooner, as I had mentioned in my advice. Also, in my other careers that I had, like when you're an enterprise rent-a-car, I don't know if you've ever rented a car. I don't know if it's like this anymore, but it would be like, hey, do you need GPS? Are you getting the insurance? And it was like a high pressure, then you ask how the customer service was and you give the house away to make sure they're happy. But the main thing was like, make sure they get that insurance. And it was like, I can, as you probably can see, I can talk a lot. And this business is all about listening. It's important that you can talk for sure. But listening is more important, and asking, I think, is even more important than listening. So if I could go back, my original partner used to tell me, Elon, I want you to stop yelling, stop selling, and stop telling. And that would be the advice I would tell my younger self is don't do those 3 things. Do a lot more listening and asking. And once I started doing more of that and continue to do more of that, I'm a work in progress. I do like to talk. I feel like that's how we're not selling anything. My other jobs were high pressure sales. We don't sell here. We listen and we figure out how we can help our clients achieve their goals or solve their problems. And so I would say, young Elon, stop talking and listen.
Love it. That's great advice for anybody, honestly, in any business realm, but great advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is sales is all about listening. And I appreciate you ladies listening to me this entire time. I feel like I did most of the talking, and So here I am, right? Ask more. Maybe I should have asked you some questions and done more listening.
No.
Oh, no. The whole point was to hear your story. So thanks so much, Elon, for being on, for sharing, for your insights. Really appreciate your time and your knowledge.
Yeah, thank you.
So much more success on your podcast, and as well in 2025. And may you all have a blessed year.
Thank you as well. Thank you so much, Elon.
Bye.
Thank you.
That was Elon Gerberg sharing his insights on commercial real estate in Southern Florida. For more information on Elon, the ROI Group at SVN Commercial Partners, or to learn more about SVN Latus, click the links in the show notes. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Deal.